I'm going to show you how to use a leather crimp on the end of your necklace or bracelet or anklet. So there's different two options. You can either have a leather crimping tool, which are really awesome. And I recommend getting one of these if you're going to be doing a lot of leather crimping. I don't recommend the ends that you have to glue on because it seems like no matter how awesome your glue is over time, it'll start to fade or lose its potency when it's dried onto the piece, and it can get flaky and all sorts of stuff. And it's just better to have a man-made squish because you know that it's solid. Now, when it comes to leather it expands and contracts. So if you're using a leather crimp that has point in it, this can create a weak spot. For a 2 millimeter round cord or multi-strand of 1 millimeter, or even just one 1 millimeter strand, I use these guys. I really like them. They're nice and small. They look clean when they're finished. And if you look at the back of them, they have one little bump there. And that little bump, believe it or not, does make a difference in holding. I don't know why, but it does. So I always have a place for my index finger and thumb to rest beyond the loop at the end of the necklace. So this is where you'll attach your jump ring or to attach your clasp end. So I always hold on to that with the opposite hand I'm going to be crimping with. I'm left-handed, so you might be doing it the other way. So with a leather crimping tool, you can use that, or you could use a pair of flat nose pliers, work best. Chain nose pliers are doable. I would recommend using a thicker one than this because you might find that it just slips, and it's really not fun having your tool underneath your nail bed. So use a bigger one if you can. If you're using a tool that has teeth in it, be really, really careful with it. It can be helpful to help you move it, but you can easily overwork the wire. I don't use them because I don't like taking the chance, but if that's all you have, it's doable. Okay, so I also take my middle finger and my ring finger to hold the opposite end of the wire that is more towards the center of the necklace. And then with a crimping tool or flat nose pliers, I gently tuck one side in and then I tuck the other side in. You might have to do this a few times, but ideally you want your strands to be as close to touching one another as they can, but in more of a tent or triangle shape. So you don't want to be squishing one completely flat and then having your cord shoot out the other side. You want to bring them up to a tent so that when you do a squish downwards, that they'll still be resting next to each other, and it kind of helps it to start rounding around the cord. So if you're using a leather crimping tool, you'll put it in the loop in the back and start gently working around to turn it into a circle. Or if you're using flat nose, turn, squish. So every time you squish flat, go to the sides and squish again. So meaning the point where you make a triangle with your leather crimping ends, you're going to squish flat on those two pieces to make it more flat, and then come to the outside, squish there, bring it down again, come to the outside, squish it down, until eventually it becomes round. And it's not the end of the world if your cord sticks out the side. Just be mindful that with leather, if it's cut off in any way and it's a big chunk of it, it could eventually just break off. And then you got a rounded leather crimp. When you cut off that excess wire, make sure you cut with the flat part of your pliers facing end, wedge it between the loop and the cord, and make a snip as close as you can. So It'll look something like that, so you still have room to weave your jump ring through. Have fun.